Okay, a judge in New York has just issued an ultimatum that changes absolutely everything for Donald Trump. We have moved past the point of fines. We have moved past the point of warnings. As of this morning, we are looking at a hard, non-negotiable deadline of 48 hours. That is 2 days. 2 days for the former president to prove he isn't hiding assets or face the one thing he has feared more than bankruptcy: prison. This is a massive development. The judge just dropped a bombshell order known as a show cause order. This completely caught Trump's legal team off guard. They walked into court expecting another day of delays and procedural arguments, and they walked out with a ticking clock that ends this Friday. The reality they are facing is stunning. Trump doesn't just need to come up with cash. He needs to come up with a valid explanation for some very suspicious financial movements, or he will be held in criminal contempt of court. Let's be very clear about what is happening here. This isn't about the $364 million anymore. That debt is established. That judgment is final. This is about defying a court order. Reports are leaking from the clerk's office that the court-appointed monitor, the person whose only job is to watch Trump's money 24/7, flagged a series of irregular wire transfers late last night. We are talking about attempts to move liquidity out of New York jurisdiction and potentially into accounts that the court cannot easily touch. The judge is not buying it, not for a second. This show cause order is essentially a trap that has snapped shut. It says, "Mr. Trump, explain these movements by Friday morning, or we will assume you are trying to defraud the court." If he can't provide a legitimate business reason for these transfers, and legal experts are saying he probably can't, then he has violated the direct enforcement order. And in New York, that carries mandatory jail time. You can just picture the panic inside Trump Tower right now. His lawyers know that there is no delay tactic for a show cause order. You can't appeal it to the Supreme Court. You can't file a motion to dismiss it. You just have to answer it. And if the answer is, "We tried to hide the money because we don't want to pay," then the game is over. The judge has made it painfully clear. Any attempt to dissipate assets, any attempt to hide wealth, will be met with the harshest sanction available. That sanction is custody. If the 48-hour deadline passes and those transfers aren't explained, the judge can order Marshals to take Trump into custody until he complies. This isn't a political trial anymore. This is a judge enforcing his courtroom's authority against a defendant who refuses to listen. The walls are closing in. The $364 million is due immediately. The assets are frozen. And now, the clock is ticking on his own personal freedom. Let's back up a bit to understand why the judge is being so aggressive. This all stems from the fraud judgment, where Trump was found to have lied for years about his wealth. He inflated the value of his apartments, his golf courses, and his brand to trick banks into giving him better loans. The court said, "Pay back the $364 million. Trump didn't pay. Instead, he stalled. He appealed. He attacked the judge. And while he was doing all that, the interest kept piling up, and the court's patience started wearing thin. But what triggered this specific 48-hour warning was the forensic audit. You see, the judge authorized a forensic audit of Trump's personal accounts. Not just the business accounts, but his personal finances. This means every dime he spends, every check he writes, and every donation he receives is now being watched in real time. He is financially naked before the court. There are no secrets left. When the monitor saw money moving around in a way that looked suspicious, they alerted the judge immediately. The judge's reaction was swift. He didn't ask for a hearing next month. He demanded an explanation within 48 hours. This is the difference between a civil case and a criminal contempt charge. Usually, if you owe money and don't pay, the sheriff comes and takes your property. They seize the building, they sell the golf course, and that's it. But if you try to hide the money to stop them from taking it, that is a crime. That is an attack on the judicial process itself. And judges take that very personally. The threat of prison is now more real than it has ever been. We aren't talking about a 10-year sentence in a maximum security penitentiary. We are talking about coercive custody. This means the judge can put Trump in a cell until he complies with the order. It could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month. The key is, the keys to the jail cell are in Trump's own pocket. All he has to do is tell the truth and hand over the money. But for a man who has built his entire life on projecting an image of untouchable wealth, admitting he can't pay and handing over control is the one thing he cannot bring himself to do. This puts his legal team in a nightmare scenario. Do they advise their client to admit to the court that he tried to move the assets? That would be admitting to a crime. Or do they try to lie about it? That would be perjury. They are boxed in. There are no good options left, only bad ones and worse ones. And the clock is ticking down every single minute. Think about the physical reality of this. If Friday comes and the judge isn't satisfied, we could see United States Marshals or New York City sheriffs entering Trump's properties with an arrest warrant. It is a scene that history has never produced. A former president remanded into custody, not for his politics, but because he refused to follow the basic rules of the court. The optics of that would be devastating. It would destroy the narrative he has built of being a victim. It would show the world that he is simply a debtor who got caught trying to skip out on the bill. And let's look at the money again. $364 million. That is a staggering amount of cash. Even for a billionaire, that is not money you just find in your couch cushions. Trump has claimed to have massive amounts of cash, but the court records show a different story. His wealth is tied up in buildings. Buildings that are hard to sell. Buildings that have mortgages on them. To raise that kind of money in 48 hours is physically impossible without a fire sale. He would have to sell his prized assets for pennies on the dollar. Imagine seeing Trump Tower sold to the highest bidder for half its value just to keep him out of jail. Imagine Mar-a-Lago having a lien placed on it. This is the dismantling of an empire in real time. The judge has signaled that he is done waiting. The time for negotiation is over. The time for payment is now. The political fallout from this is also going to be catastrophic. Trump relies on donors to fund his legal bills and his political operation. But big donors are terrified. They are looking at this situation and realizing that any money they give to Trump might just be seized by the court. If you donate $1 million to his super PAC and the court freezes his accounts, that money is gone. The donors are closing their checkbooks. They are ghosting his calls. He is becoming financially radioactive. And what about his family? The judgment didn't just hit Donald. It hit his sons, Don Jr. and Eric. They are banned from running New York businesses for 3 years. They are watching their inheritance evaporate. They are watching the company they were supposed to take over being picked apart by a court-appointed monitor. The stress within the family must be unbearable. There is no one coming to save them. The Republican Party can't pay this bill. The Supreme Court has refused to intervene in these state-level fraud matters. They are on their own. Let's go back to the 48-hour deadline. Why is the judge moving so fast? Because he knows Trump's playbook. He knows that if he gives Trump a week, Trump will file 3 motions and an appeal. If he gives him a month, Trump will find a new lawyer to delay things further. By setting a 48-hour deadline, the judge is cutting off the oxygen. He is stripping away the ability to stall. He is forcing a confrontation. It is a brilliant legal maneuver, and it has left Trump with nowhere to run. The show cause order basically shifts the burden of proof. Usually, the accuser has to prove you did something wrong. But in this case, the judge is saying, "It looks like you did something wrong. Prove to me that you didn't." Trump has to prove a negative. He has to prove that those wire transfers were innocent. And given his history of fraud, given the fact that a court has already determined he is a liar, his credibility is zero. The judge is not going to take his word for it. He needs documents. He needs receipts. And if those documents don't exist, Trump is in deep, deep trouble. This is the ultimate consequence of a lifetime of pushing the envelope. Trump has always operated in the gray areas, daring people to stop him. He has stiffed contractors. He has defaulted on loans. He has sued everyone who crossed him, and it worked. For decades it worked. But he finally ran into a judge who isn't afraid of him. A judge who isn't impressed by the bluster or the fame. Judge Engoron is looking at the numbers, looking at the law, and applying it without fear or favor. And that is why this is so terrifying for Trump. He can't bully his way out of this. He can't tweet his way out of this. The law is a rigid machine, and right now, the gears are grinding him down. The interest alone on this judgment is increasing by tens of thousands of dollars every single day. Every day he waits, the hole gets deeper. But now, with the threat of jail, the hole isn't just financial, it is existential. So, what happens at hour 49? If the deadline passes and there is no satisfactory answer, the judge will likely issue a bench warrant. It might not happen on live TV. It might happen quietly. Lawyers will be summoned to chambers. The judge will issue the order. And Trump will be given a choice. Surrender yourself or we come and get you. It is a moment of absolute crisis. We also need to talk about the fake bankruptcy option. A lot of people are asking, why doesn't he just declare bankruptcy? Well, he can't. Or at least it won't help him. The judge has specifically blocked him from using bankruptcy to wipe out this debt because it is based on fraud. In the legal world, debts caused by willful and malicious injury or fraud cannot be discharged in bankruptcy. So even if he files for Chapter 11, the debt remains. The prison threat remains. It would be a desperate move that solves nothing. Also, declaring bankruptcy would be the ultimate admission of failure. For a man whose entire identity is the rich guy, filing for bankruptcy would be a humiliation he cannot bear. It would destroy his brand. It would destroy his political argument that he is a successful businessman who can fix the economy. If he can't even fix his own balance sheet, how can he run the country? So he is trapped. He can't pay, he can't declare bankruptcy, and he can't hide the money. The forensic audit is the key to all of this. Modern banking leaves a digital trail that is impossible to erase. Every wire transfer has a code. Every account has a beneficiary. The court-appointed monitor has access to all of it. They can see the flow of money like blood in the veins. If Trump tried to move $10 million to a shell company in the Caribbean, the monitor saw it happen in real time. That is likely what triggered this order. They saw the money move, and they hit the panic button. This level of scrutiny is unprecedented for a former president. But frankly, the fraud was unprecedented. We are talking about lying about the square footage of his own apartment by a factor of 3. We are talking about valuing Mar-a-Lago as if it were a private residence when he signed deeds saying it was a club to lower his taxes. These weren't mistakes, they were lies. And now the bill for those lies has come due. The judge's ultimatum is the end of the road. There are no more off-ramps. Trump has to face the music. And the music is a dirge for his business empire. If he is taken into custody, the control of his company completely passes to the receiver. The court will start selling assets immediately to satisfy the judgment. They will put the for sale signs up while he sits in a holding cell. It is a total loss of control. This is why the next 48 hours are so critical. We are going to see a flurry of legal filings. We are going to see desperate pleas to appeals courts. But unless an appeals court steps in and pauses this, which is unlikely given the evidence of asset hiding, the deadline stands. Friday is the day. You have to wonder what is going through his mind. Is he angry? Is he scared? Probably both. He is watching the system he thought he could manipulate turn against him. He is watching his allies abandon him. And he is realizing that he is not above the law. That is a hard lesson for anyone to learn, but for Donald Trump, it is a shattering one. The show cause order also mentions that if he is found in contempt, the fines will increase daily. But at this point, fines don't matter. He already owes hundreds of millions. Another $10,000 a day is a drop in the bucket. That is why the jail threat is the only leverage the judge has left. The judge knows that fining a billionaire, or a supposed billionaire, doesn't work if they refuse to pay. But taking away their freedom, that works. That gets their attention. Let's not forget the broader context here. This is happening while he is trying to run a political campaign. How do you campaign when you are facing imminent asset seizure? How do you hold rallies when you might be in court fighting to stay out of jail? The logistics are a nightmare. The Secret Service must be in a panic, trying to figure out how to protect a former president if he is taken into custody. It is a situation without a playbook. The narrative that this is a witch hunt is failing in the courtroom. It might work at a rally, it might work on social media, but in front of Judge Engoron, it means nothing. The judge deals in facts. Did you inflate the assets? Yes. Did you move the money? Yes. Then you are guilty. It is a binary system, true or false, guilty or innocent. And Trump is on the losing side of every equation. As we count down the hours, keep an eye on the news for any mention of interim stays or emergency appeals. That is the only thing that can save him now. But appeals courts are hesitant to stop a trial judge who is enforcing an order against a defiant defendant. They usually let the trial judge manage his own courtroom. If the judge says Trump is hiding assets, the appeals court will likely say, well, then deal with it. They aren't going to stick their necks out for a litigant who is playing games with the system. This Friday could mark the end of the Trump business era in New York. If the seizure begins, it will be swift. The Marshals don't mess around. They change the locks. They escort the staff out. They bring in the auctioneers. It is a cold, mechanical process. It doesn't care about your brand or your feelings. It just cares about the number on the bottom line. $364 million. To summarize the gravity of this situation, a judge has looked at the evidence, seen suspicious money movements, and issued a 48-hour warning. Prove it's innocent or go to jail. It is the most direct threat to Trump's personal freedom we have seen in decades of legal battles. He is cornered, he is cash-strapped, and he is running out of time. If he manages to wiggle out of this one, it will be a miracle of legal maneuvering. But looking at the stern language of the order, looking at the patience the judge has already lost, I wouldn't bet on a miracle. I would bet on a showdown between a man who thinks he is the law and the man who actually represents the law. The next 2 days will tell us everything we need to know. Will Trump fold and pay? Does he even have the money to pay? Or will he call the judge's bluff and risk the handcuffs? The stakes have never been higher. The drama has never been more intense. And the outcome is completely uncertain. What we do know is that the era of delay is dead. The era of consequences has begun. Trump is facing the abyss, and for the first time, he doesn't have a bridge to cross it. He has 48 hours to build one, or he falls. This is a developing story that is moving at lightning speed. The implications for the election, for the business world, and for the legal system are profound. If a former president can be jailed for civil contempt, it sends a message that no one is untouchable. It is a stress test for our democracy and our judiciary. And right now, the judiciary is flexing its muscles. So mark your calendars, Friday morning. That is when the clock hits zero. That is when we find out if Donald Trump is a master escape artist, or if he has finally been caught in a trap he cannot break. The assets are on the line. The freedom is on the line. And the whole world is watching. We will be tracking every motion, every filing, and every rumor coming out of that courthouse. This is history in the making, and not the kind of history Trump wanted to make. It is the story of a cash crisis turning into a freedom crisis. And it is all happening right now.